I'm Matilda, 31 years old. I've been married to Taylor for 2 years. I thought we were doing well. At least we were when we first got married. Things started to change about a year ago. It began when Taylor's dad passed away.
Hey, Matilda.
Yeah. It was shortly after the funeral, and Taylor broke the silence with an awkward tone.
Dad's gone, right?
Yes.
Mom seems lonely.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think about us moving in with Mom?
What? This was the first time the topic of living together with his mom had ever come up. Taylor didn't back down, insisting it would help his lonely mom. I knew they were a close couple, and I had noticed how frequently his mom, my mother-in-law, would call for Taylor after the funeral. She must be lonely.
You know, our family home will be too big for Mom alone, right? We were thinking of getting our own place eventually. Living in a house would be better than an apartment, and it'll save us some money. Mom likes you, you know. I'm sure we'd all get along.
Despite what Taylor said, I knew his mom wasn't a fan of me. It's not like she had been openly hostile, but I could sense it. What's more, I had been clear before we got married that I didn't want to live with his parents, and Taylor had agreed.
You're working too, right? Wouldn't it be helpful if Mom could pitch in around the house?
That issue would be solved if you helped out. I work too, you know.
That's not what we're talking about right now. Don't you feel sorry for Mom, losing Dad like this?
I couldn't say no, and so our decision to move in with his mom changed the dynamics of our relationship. I was a web designer and worked from home, but my mother-in-law wasn't happy about that.
Hey, why are you working on such small-time stuff?
What?
Doing side gigs like that won't make you much money, right?
Well, yeah, but I just went freelance last year. I haven't officially set up an office yet, because we're planning to decide on when we build our home soon. The plan is to include a small office space when we construct our house, but until then I'll be working from home. Luckily, my former office still refers clients to me, and I've been keeping busy.
Instead of doing all that, why not focus on supporting your son? You're the breadwinner after all.
My mother-in-law doesn't even listen to what I have to say, assuming my work is just a hobby. Every so often, she'd say,
"What's the point of sticking to a hobby like that? You don't even do housework. You're lucky my son is so tolerant."
Maybe that's how things were when she was younger. She believes that husbands should work outside and daughters-in-law should support the household. She keeps emphasizing that Taylor is the breadwinner, and I should fully support him. But I also have a job.
So what? Is work more important than family?
No, that's not it. I work just like Taylor. And I do housework too. I might not be as efficient as Amelia, but we were doing fine before we moved here.
Huh. My son must have been putting up with you because he's kind.
What?
You call this housekeeping? Doing a slapdash job like this?
My mother-in-law looked at me as if to belittle me. I might not be the most skillful, but I think I do a decent job with cleaning, laundry, and cooking. But I'll never measure up to her, who's been a homemaker all her life. My mother-in-law kept finding faults in my housekeeping and never missed a chance to make snide comments. Yet she never lifted a finger to help with the chores. Before we moved in together, Taylor told me that having my mother-in-law around would lighten the load, but all she did was add to my stress.
Taylor makes $10,000 a year. Why are you working these odd jobs?
$10,000? She proudly mentioned Taylor's annual income. She's off by a zero, isn't she? I tried to correct her, but she cut me off.
You just keep getting in the way.
She's completely misunderstanding and won't listen to me. No, that's not it. I tried explaining multiple times, but she won't let go of the $10,000 figure. She's even boasting about it to neighbors, so there's no stopping her now. Hey, Amelia was saying this. What do you mean, Even when I tried to have a serious talk with Taylor, he wouldn't listen to me attentively. Amelia says you make $10,000 a year. Are you okay with her misunderstanding that?
It's not a big deal. So what?
What do you mean, so what?
Come on, I'm tired. Give me a break.
Taylor sighed, exasperated. He wasn't like this before. At first, he would mediate between his mom and me, but maybe being praised by her feels good, because now he's always taking her side.
Just try to understand Mom's feelings.
That's all he would say. He no longer seriously addresses my concerns. I'm the one doing all the housework, you know. With 3 people, it's just getting harder. Wasn't Amelia supposed to help?
Mom's got a bad knee, right? You want her to push herself?
That's not the point. If Amelia and you helped out even a little, it would lighten the load.
Here we go again.
It's because you never listen, isn't it? My job's getting busier and busier. There are times I can't keep up with the housework either. That's why. I pleaded earnestly.
So you're saying you're busy with work? Is that a dig at me?
Taylor spat out those words and stormed out of the room. It wasn't always like this. I kept thinking about it. Taylor used to genuinely support me, wanting to be independent and excel at my job. He even used to share housework. What happened? Now he doesn't lift a finger. Since we've been here, every time I bring up work, Taylor gets irritated and snaps, suspecting sarcasm or insinuations. I get that it's probably mother-in-law's influence, but I'm speechless thinking how easily he changed his mind.
Where are you going?
Just a meeting. I'll be back before dinner.
A meeting? What kind?
I'm meeting with a realtor to look for a rental space for my office. Working from this house has become unbearable, so I've decided to rent an office space. The house has the space and I can do my job, but it's emotionally draining. Mother-in-law keeps interfering and making nasty comments when I work, and I know Taylor's not on my side. In that case, it would be easier to work if I rented a different space. I wouldn't have to worry about anyone else either. That's what I concluded.
What did you just say?
Just as I was about to leave the house, my mother-in-law stopped me in my tracks with a loud voice. I don't know where she got the strength from, but she grabbed my arm tightly. The pain made me wince, but she didn't let go at all.
Wait, Amelia, what are you talking about? Does my son know about this?
No, but
how could you decide on this on your own? I can't believe it.
I just haven't had time to talk. It's not like I was keeping it a secret.
Exactly my point. Using a lot of money without consulting anyone. How brazen. I won't allow it.
What?
Please, don't leave the house today. We'll discuss this when my son gets back.
My voice no longer reached my shrieking mother-in-law. Unable to have a constructive conversation, I canceled my appointment with the realtor. Taylor, you're late.
What's the rush?
Please just listen. While I was working in my room, I overheard Taylor, who had just come back from work, talking to my mother-in-law. Is she telling him I'm spending money recklessly? My mother-in-law seemed agitated, pleading with Taylor through her tears. After a while,
can I come in?
The door opens gently and Taylor walks in. Right behind him, mother-in-law's face is twisted in extreme anger. She looks like she's so furious, she could burst into tears any moment. I let out a deep sigh and reluctantly stopped my work. What is it?
Mom's saying that you can't just waste Taylor's hard-earned money.
My mother-in-law cut in with a teary voice.
That's what she said. What's going on?
The situation was becoming too complicated due to her assumptions. I was just planning on going to an office meeting. How is that wasting money?
An office? Like you're renting a space?
Yes, working here is too difficult, and it seems neither Amelia nor you appreciate it. I figured it would be better for both of us. Upon hearing this, Taylor averted his eyes awkwardly, and my mother-in-law's eyes widened.
To spend a lot of money for such a petty reason without even telling us.
I'm using my own money to get an office. Sorry for not mentioning it earlier, but I don't think it's your place to intervene. While pressing between my eyebrows, I convey my irritation. Taylor looks a bit surprised, probably because I've never talked back or argued before. I've never been so blunt with either Taylor or mother-in-law, but I'd reached my limit. With mother-in-law who doesn't listen and just imposes her one-sided values, and Taylor, who only listens to what mother-in-law says.
Oh my, how could you say that? To dismiss family advice as intervening? I can't believe you.
In my mother-in-law's eyes, does family mean a daughter-in-law who just nods and agrees? If so, that's not me.
Just get a divorce then.
My mother-in-law finally let her true feelings slip.
What?
Taylor questions again.
You're only going to bring yourself down by being with someone like this. There's got to be someone better suited for you. But pick someone who'll support you. After all, you're the breadwinner.
Mother-in-law forcefully lays it out. The word breadwinner seems to resonate well with Taylor, who lets out a pleased smile. All I could do was silently watch. Finally, Taylor turns to me, smiling condescendingly.
Let's divorce. I feel bad for you, but I think Mom's right. I need someone who will support me.
I see.
You get it, right?
He laughs, trying to lighten the mood. How can one word like breadwinner make him forget reality and make such a life-changing decision? At this point, my patience for Taylor has run dry. I understand. Upon hearing my response, mother-in-law smiles contentedly, and Taylor's face relaxes. But there's a condition.
A condition?
Don't contact me after the divorce. No calls or texts.
If we're getting divorced, that's a given.
I'll be out by the end of this week. I'll send the divorce papers and a pledge about our agreement through a lawyer after that. Please fill them out.
A lawyer?
Taylor seems taken aback by the mention of a lawyer. Still, I explain my reasoning. Yes, it's safer for both of us. If you break the agreement and contact me, I'll demand compensation. We're getting divorced, so we should be able to live with that. Mother-in-law interjects, unable to hold back.
That's fine. If she contacts you, then you can demand compensation.
Right. So it's settled then. Let's also agree that we keep our possessions and assets. After contemplating for a bit, Taylor nods. I figured as much. All right, I'll make sure to include that in the documents. Mother-in-law lets out an exaggerated sigh and grins.
Oh, what a relief.
I smile back. Thank you for your help. Upon seeing that, mother-in-law grimaced disapprovingly, and Taylor awkwardly lowered his gaze to the floor. Taylor never ended up standing up for me. I vaguely thought about that. I decided to get a divorce and immediately contacted my parents. When I told them everything that had happened and how I was being pressured into divorce, Mom teared up and Dad got visibly angry. Get out of that house as soon as possible. The morning after deciding to divorce, my dad and brother showed up with a truck to pick me up. Mother-in-law and Taylor probably never expected me to leave so quickly. They looked stunned, but I didn't care. I packed what I needed and left the house ASAP. I contacted the lawyer who had helped me in the past, took care of all the paperwork, including affidavits and divorce filings, and successfully got divorced. For a while, I moved back in with my parents. I was thinking about renting a place that could also serve as an office, but my parents advised against it. You've just gotten divorced, and who knows what Taylor or mother-in-law might do, they say, so I decided to stay with my parents for a while. Turns out it was the right decision.
Matilda, you're in there, aren't you?
A few months after the divorce, I heard such a voice late at night. There was a loud banging on the front door. I immediately recognized it as Taylor's voice, but Dad said,
"Stay here,"
and went to the door. Mom stayed close to comfort me.
"What do you want at this hour?" "Cody, where is Matilda?" "You're divorced. What do you want now?" "That woman stole my son's money. Bring her out right now."
I heard mother-in-law shrieking. I couldn't believe they'd come together.
"Stole?"
Dad repeated the accusation incredulously.
"Yes, otherwise why would my son be missing money? We can't live without money in our bank account. Give it back now."
Missing money from the account? They can't live without it? As absurd as it sounded, I felt dizzy, seeing that Dad was having trouble dealing with such unreasonable people. I reluctantly showed my face at the door.
"Matilda,
please take your disturbance elsewhere." In contrast to their loud ranting, I responded calmly.
"How dare you? Give the money back now."
Mother-in-law continued her tirade. "Give back what?
You stole my son's money, didn't you?"
"I have no idea what you're talking about. We always kept our finances separate, and I know nothing about his bank account." Mother-in-law was speechless, but it was the truth. However, it seemed mother-in-law had not been informed of this and looked stunned.
"But why are you out of money? We're even facing electricity shutoffs. You're supposed to be making $10,000 a year. Something doesn't add up."
Still believing in that misconception, I glanced at Taylor. Why don't you be honest for once?
What?
His mother looked confused. Taylor stayed silent and didn't lift his head. I sighed, pulled up the e-statement on my phone, and showed it to my mother-in-law. Take a look. As she saw the digital statement, her eyes widened. She seemed about to say something but held back. We're not stealing. Look at those numbers. A significant amount is regularly coming in every month, even after the divorce. I glanced at Taylor again. Why don't you tell Amelia that I make $10,000 a year and you make only about 20% of that?
What? Come on.
I've been saying this all along. The one who didn't correct the misconception was you. Taylor works in sales, but is actually a contract worker, not a regular employee. His income is commission-based, so there's no basic salary. While some make $10,000 a year, Taylor hardly manages to bring home $1,000 a month. His yearly income is around $24,000. We could afford our lifestyle only because of my earnings. I covered all expenses, even for Taylor and his mother. Taylor spent all his income on himself. The reason Taylor didn't object when I suggested we manage our finances separately must have been this. Taylor likely thought he'd have more disposable income than me, the one covering living expenses and all the rest, even though he makes only a fifth of my salary. Despite me covering the living expenses, the income gap between Taylor and me is evident. He never really saves and uses all he earns. I can see my mother-in-law was confused. She refused to listen when I tried to clarify, and Taylor let her continue thinking what she did.
Come on, help me out. You have money, right?
Taylor was begging without any sense of shame. What are you talking about?
We're married, aren't we? Help me. That's right, you have money. Go ahead, find a job, marry my son again.
Mother-in-law was raising her voice. I was dumbstruck by their audacity. Why should I? I have no obligation to take care of these two again.
You love my son, don't you? You can remarry him.
Their condescension was unbearable.
That's enough.
The person who finally raised their voice was Dad.
Don't you dare come near my daughter again. Don't think you can get away with such nonsense.
While Mother-in-law hesitated, she was quick to retaliate.
I'm asking your daughter.
I looked at my mother-in-law. Amelia, is it okay?
Yes.
My mother-in-law's eyes widened as she responded. I'll be demanding alimony from your son then. Seizing the moment, I played my trump card. My mother-in-law's mouth fell open.
Excuse me?
I laid the documents I'd brought along with my phone in front of them. Remember, we agreed. If you contact me, you owe me alimony.
You can't be serious.
Me? Help you? Remarry? Don't make me laugh. Enraged, Taylor lunged toward me.
You?
Just as my dad tried to intervene, police sirens wailed in the distance. No doubt a neighbor had called, sensing the tension. Relieved, I felt my strength give away, and Dad supported me. In the end, Taylor and his mother were taken away by the police. They might have gotten off with just a stern warning, but Taylor punched a restraining officer. He was released soon enough, but I pressed for alimony through my lawyer. I knew he couldn't pay, but it served as a warning to stay away from me. Once things settled down, I rented an office and started living on my own. Work is thriving, keeping me much busier than when I was with Taylor and the rest. Supported by many, my life is fulfilling. In my personal life, I'm dating a man I met through work. He understands my divorce status and still wants to be with me. He's also a busy man who values his work. But we inspire and help each other, enjoying our life together. Being with someone who respects you is the best. Now, back to work. I opened the laptop on my desk.